Did you get tired of running, you coward? Lana yelled as she marched towards him. You're gonna pay for what you did to my pets. Grease Monkey stood frozen. Go ahead, stand there. It's just going to make my job easier. Lana got closer as she noticed a smile form on the Grease Monkey's dirty green rotten face, which that unnerved her. What's so funny? Her voice started to shake. I'm going to knock the smile right off your... Lola suddenly screamed. Lana looked back at her and then Grease Monkey. She noticed the movements at the corner of the eyes. She suddenly noticed that they were being surrounded by houses, and in those houses, several greens began to merge from the doors, windows, open garages, cars. There was too many to count. Lana was then hit with a wave of panic. What was she thinking? Leaving her twin and all those kids out in the open like this? She was only 6 years old. There was a little over 72 months, and even that there was 312 weeks, a little over 190 days, and stuff like that. Of course, that was all separated from their birth for this moment. All was wasted was one stupid mistake. She then turned and screamed for them to run, and they bolted back towards the school. Lucy began to crawl as fast as she could, and she saw what happened. That kid, they killed the kid. She wasn't really upset about it since he was part of the group that killed Lisa, but it still bothered her, seeing the head get cut off. So she saw her other siblings of how they reacted. Lincoln seemed to be bothered at first, stepping off the chair he was standing on momentarily, then getting back on it to continue to watch what's going on. He also noticed her sisters. Luna then looked kind of disturbed, while Luann looked very disturbed, while Lynn didn't look disturbed at all. Lucy felt water on her face. Tears, as she ignored them, continued to crawl through the vents. The world was always a fucked up place, even before the blast, but now it was just way worse. Adults killing kids, kids killing adults, kids killing kids. Why was this happening? That was $1 trillion question. Lucy thought that money was worthless now. It was nothing more than a useless paper that had been, before the apocalypse, had been used to buy useless stuff. Useless. All of it was useless. Her poetry journal, her bust Edwin, her books, her coffin she used to sleep in, her knowledge of death. Useless. All of it. She then thought of her sister's possessions. Lori's cell phone, her golf clubs, whatever she used to seal her off in her bedroom. Lenny's clothes, beauty products, her sunglasses that always placed on her head, her knowledge mostly of everything beauty related. Luna's instruments, however many of those loud, obnoxious things they were. Luann's jokes, gags, props, including her ventriloquist dummy, Mr. Coconuts. Lynn's sports gear, equipment and trophies. Lincoln's video games, comics, action figures, and coin collections. Lana's reptiles, tools, whatever gross things she owned. Lola's pageant gowns or crowns, beauty products, and portraits of herself. Lisa's science experiments, her studies and creations. Lily's toys, her blanket, stuffed animals. All of it was useless. Nothing was going to get them out of the situation. Nothing at all. So she was even the part of going on? Lucy thought it would be easier if she just tried to kill herself. Maybe go grab a blade from somewhere and slit her wrists, or throw herself off the roof of the school. The walls of the vent were suddenly felt like they were closing in. Lucy began to panic. However, she's never been claustrophobic before, so why was it happening now? She quickly took over a screwdriver and opened the vent cover. She suddenly was in a hallway, her head spinning as they were in the walls. She realized that she was spinning on the heels of the feet, and of course, watching on the hallway was Royal Woods Elementary School, turned as if the world was always turning. It made her realize that no matter what was happening in the world, would never stop turning. Not for her, not for the dead, not for anyone. She felt small. If it weren't for her sisters, or anybody to notice that she just disappeared. She thought about Rocky and Grace. None of them had noticed that she had gone from the group. If they were all gone, who was left in it? Nobody. Lucy ran up the flight of stairs and was suddenly on the roof of the school. The air was cool and refreshing. She breathed a gulp of air and suddenly relaxed. She looked up to see the sky, the sun shining. She then began to think of some more. The school, the nice 93 million miles away from Earth. Yet she could feel the heat whenever it was on us. It gave us life and easily to take it away, just by dying. It reminded her of Lisa. She was the sun. She'd always given them something to live by existing. And now that she was dead, yet the world still turned. Lucy sighed. What was she thinking? Was she really about to kill herself? She remembered when she was in the basement and was chased by grown-ups. At the moment, she wanted nothing more than to live. She thought about the pain of her siblings' life, and all she found out was Lori and Lenny were dead. And when Lisa died as well, there was no way she was going to inflict that kind of pain of her siblings again by ending her own life. She took another breath, stared out in the distance, imagining a future where everyone was happy, living life to the fullest. I want to live, Lucy said to herself. She felt a smile appear on her face. I will live. A few moments later, Lucy was about to head back to school when she noticed movement below. A few adults were fleeing. She recognized one of them, Grease Monkey. Lucy was filled with hot rage at that moment when she noticed something else. Kids? No, it can't be. Kids! They all looked younger than her, and when she realized one of them was Lana, followed by Lola. What the heck? Lucy shouted. She quickly ran down the school, down the stairs and out the door, as they were most likely left. There was no time to get the older siblings. It was up to her. Clyde reached the bathroom and began to wash himself furiously. Rocky went up to him to see if he was all right. Dude, what the heck happened? I don't know, Clyde cried. I smell like poop. Yeah, you do. Rocky was trying not to laugh when he noticed Lucy down the hall to leave the school for an open door. What the heck, he said. He ran down the hallway after her. Clyde was too busy trying to clean himself to notice. Rocky soon reached the door and just opened it to see Lucy running down the street as if she was following something. Rocky was hesitant to go after her, but if he did, he'd probably think the bravest kids out there ever, so he did just that. Trini then walked through the hall, escorting Cody and the other kids who had ran out of the gym back in it. I can't believe you kids are all ran out there like that. You really should know better, she scolded the kids. Then once they reached the gym, her heart skipped a beat when she noticed all the kids in the gym were gone. What the? Where is everyone? She screamed, looking around frantically. Cody and the other kids looked, pretending to be confused by everyone's disappearance as well. Just then they heard knocking on the door of someone's gym storage. Trini hurried over and opened it, surprised to find Penelope tied up. The kids, she screamed. You've got to stop them. What? Why? Where are they? Trini asked as she untied Penelope. They all went outside. Lana persuaded everyone to help her kill Grease Monkey. Trini's face went pale as she shot up, pulled Penelope to her feet. Go tell the others in the auditorium. I'll go after the kids. By yourself? Yes, by myself. Now go, Trini cried. She then turned to Cody and the other kids. You four go follow Penelope in the gym. Trini's voice was so urgent that the kids did what they were told without a question. They were also beginning to wonder if they did the right thing by helping Lana get out by distracting Trinity. As they all ran out of the gym, Trinity went over there and to know where she normally slept, dug through her backpack until she found a large Bowie knife. It would have to do, she thought as she hurried through a set of stairs at the opposite side of the gym. Joey brought his axe down on another Z-Lot, sending another wave of shouts in the auditorium. Previously executed Z-Lot was just as remorseless as the other kids, as they truly believed what they had done to the elementary school kids was right. What did Zeke do to them? Duke thought. He emptied the basket containing Z-Lot's heads. The fifth one they had executed. The only one that was left was a girl who was sobbing uncontrollably. Now it broke Duke's heart. It reminded him of the memory that he had repressed, a memory of a dark night several years ago. Reminded him of his sister. No, he couldn't think of that now. He had to focus on executing the Z-Lot. He just couldn't risk keeping her alive. For all he knew, those tears could be crocodile tears. He set the basket back on the ground beside before chomping the block as Joey dragged her up. She was begging, babbling incoherently even a few feet away. Stan was wiggling and squirming, desperately tried to escape from the grasp of two kids that held them back. Duke held her down, and Joey raised his axe. No! A small voice cried out. Everyone turned to look and see a kid running down the aisle on stage. Where did he come from? Duke asked. Suddenly a few more kids appeared. Duke recognized them as the kids that the Colts and the Zealots had brought down with them. Then Sarah ran into the room. I'm sorry, she said. They were all getting restless, so I couldn't stop them. Since the new kids arrived, the group from Indiana slept in the auditorium, while the kids from Zeke's group slept on the home economics room, which they were all sent to kids to wait while execution was happening. The kid was running up the stage was Mary's brother Matt. Don't hurt my sister, he cried up as he ran up to her and held her. Your sister did a bad thing. She has to pay, Joey told him. No, I won't let you. Joey looked down at Duke, who seemed to be unsure of what to do. Duke saw the pain in Matt's eyes. It was the same pain that the Loud siblings had when they cried over their sister. Duke then fought back to his own personal pain. The pain that day he lost his own sister. He couldn't possibly inflict that kind of pain on this kid, could he? He shook it. Get out of the way, kid. Your sister must die, he yelled, with the upset Matt even more. No, please, she's all I have. The kid was crying, which made Mary cry harder. Duke ordered one of his guards to drag Matt away from Mary, but he just shook his head. His eyes seemed to be filling with tears too. Stan was crying too. He felt one of the kids loosen his grip on his arm. He then looked and saw this Matt kid was crying as well. Stan took the chance and broke his arm free, elbowed the kid in the stomach, and then punched the other kid, who was holding him right at the nose. Before anyone could do anything, Stan rushed over and grabbed the spear of the other crying kid he was holding. Then the other kid made no attempt to try and hold on to the weapon as Stan shoved Joey out of the way and pointed the tip of the spear at Duke, who instantly backed away. What the fuck? Duke yelled as the kids in the auditorium began to prattle at once. I won't let you do this, Stan yelled. Can't you see how sorry she is? She knows what Zeke and the other kids did was bad. You shouldn't punish her for something they did. Joey took a step towards Stan, who pointed his spear at him. Don't take another step, you piece of shit. Stan, come on. We can't trust her. Duke said as she stepped towards Stan. She's dangerous. Stan pointed the spear back at him. She's not dangerous, Duke. She's just a kid like you and me. A kid who's part of a group that killed our kids. Kids who killed our kids are dead now. It's over, okay? Now please, I'm asking you as a friend. Don't kill her, please. Why are you doing this really? Duke asked, taking another step towards Stan. Are you motive? Are you trying to be a hero to her? Do you like her? Are you hoping that you could save her and she'll be your girlfriend? Maybe, I don't know, anything? Dude, Stan barked. I'm not doing it because she still has family. I'm doing it because someone who cares about her. Someone who loves her. And if we kill her, that will make us no better than them. Duke made a fart sound with his lips. Oh, please, spare me that cliche bullshit. If we kill her, then she's dead, and we won't have to worry about possibly hurting anyone. If you kill her, you'll be in a lot harm than good, Stan nodded towards Matt. This isn't like the other kids Zealots who didn't have anyone anymore. If you kill Mary, you might as well kill me too, Matt. Because she's the only thing that keeps him going. She's the only beacon of his light, just as Lisa was to her family. If we extinguish that light, then it makes us killers too. Think about it, Duke. The pain of losing someone you love and care about. You wouldn't wish that on someone else, would you? Duke was at a loss for words. Stan knew about his sister. All those years ago when he had lost their fateful fright. The pain, the misery, the sorrow, the absolute feeling of hopelessness. Duke turned to Joey with sad eyes. Joey knew what he was thinking. Duke had only told a handful of people about why he moved to Royal Woods several years ago. He then turned back to Stan. Okay, fine, we'll spare her, but if anything happens to anyone else because of her, it's on your head. Stan smiled and was not having to think about Duke when Lynn cried out, No, she deserves to die! They all looked to see Lynn chambering on the stage, followed by Luna and Luann, who were struggling to climb up front of the stage. Wait! Stan cried, as Lynn pierced the machete away from the surprised kid. She ignored him and shoved him aside. Stan nearly lost his balance as he fumbled towards what caught himself. He turned back to see Lynn, who was trying to drag Matt away from Mary. Joey tried to intervene while Duke stood still. He didn't want to take any chances with Lynn or ever Machete. Stan hurried over and tried to help Joey and get Lynn away from Matt and Mary. But she shoved Joey aside and tripped over his axe, which just left Stan to face Lynn momentarily. He wrapped his arms around Lynn as she struggled to break free from him. Now that Luna and Luann were on stage, only trying to pry that Stan away from Lynn, they had managed to succeed, but Stan quickly broke free from her clutches. He shoved them back in such a force that they fell backwards, tumbled onto other kids who were now rushing on stage. Stan looked back at the glimpse of Lynn's fists flying at him. A wave of pain coursed through his face as he was sent stumbling backwards. He dropped his spear and looked at his hands as he fell on his butt. Now he was filled with rage, an image of him picking up his spear and impaling Lynn. What flashed in his mind, he grabbed his spear and shot to his feet, ready to take on Lynn again. But once he was up, he saw that she was no longer focusing on trying to get him to Mary. Instead, she had held her back and was looking to the aisle. The rage quickly left Stan's body as he loosened the grip on the spear. He turned to see a girl, a few other kids, running into the gym, yelling for help. Duke couldn't remember the girl's name, but who was down the aisle. Her screaming seemed urgent. "What's wrong?" she shouted over the girl's cries. The girl was crying and babbling incoherently. "Calm down. Tell us what's wrong." "The kids," she wailed. "The kids were in the gym." "What about them?" "They're all gone." "What?" Duke cried. Everyone else in the auditorium began to huddle around the girl. Lana convinced them all to follow her outside and kill Grease Monkey. "All of them?" Duke asked. "Yes, all of them." A panic of wave watched everyone in the gym, including the Loud siblings. And Stan, of course. A lot of the siblings were most likely in danger. Lynn swore and hurried off stage, jumping off the edge without any hesitation. Her siblings all followed her. Stan forgot all about Mary and ran after them. Duke ordered a guard to stay and watch Matt and Mary as he turned to Joey and told him that they had to hurry and save the kids. Lincoln had heard everything and he followed his sisters, who had tremendous expressions on their faces, out of the auditorium. They all stopped at the storage room where all the weapons were stashed. Select closest weapons to the door were most likely long-bladed weapons and clubs. As they all ran down the hall, Lincoln spotted Clyde. "Whoa, what's going on?" his friend asked. "Danger!" Lincoln yelled. "They're all in danger." "What?" Clyde asked. Before Lincoln could say anything, Rusty went up to Clyde and grabbed him by the shirt. "Do you see if my brother went with them?" "What? I don't even know he was just here." Rusty pushed himself off of Clyde and continued down the hall with the other kids. Clyde turned to Lincoln with a puzzled expression. "No time to explain," said Lincoln. "We have to save them." Lana was crying as the other kids, who were far behind her as she chased Grease Monkey, were now in front of her. She had gotten so far ahead of them that when she turned around and they started to run, were now far ahead of her. Only Lola showed up to let her sister catch up to her. They spotted a dark green girl making her way towards them. "Lucy!" they both shouted. "What were you thinking?" she cried as she reached them. "I don't know," Lana sobbed. There was no time for scold the twins. The other adults were ganging. "Come on," Lucy shouted, when she quickly realized that they didn't need to be said. They were getting closer and closer to the school. Their hearts were beating as fast as their feet and was hitting the pavement. For a moment it looked like they were going to get away. But suddenly, more greens appeared in front of them, being led by a tall, shirtless, muscular adult carrying a brick. A brick is what everyone called them. They all screamed as the bricks cut off some of the kids who tried retreating earlier, had swamped them. "We're doomed!" Lola cried. Lucy grabbed her sister's hands and tried to lead them horizontally from the two approaching groups. But the grown-ups had planned was because all the other adults approached the other two kids in directions. They all looked completely surrounded. The adults were coming on them fast. All Lucy could do was hold her younger sisters back and to the center of the horde. It was just them and a few other scared kids. Lucy looked at their terrified faces. She saw her friend Grace, Stan's younger sister, Sally, a boy named Timmy. Lana and Lola were looking up, petrified, tear-stained eyes. It was hopeless. Lola began to sob even harder. "Don't worry, my queen, I'll protect you," said Timmy as he held up the knife at the ready. Brick and his group quickly approached. Brick had heaved a brick that struck Jimmy right in the jaw. He dropped his knife and fell to his butt. He brought a hand up to his cheek and began to cry and wail with pain. He cried for his mom, for her to make everything better. He cried for her warmth, comfort, and protection that would never come. Instead, he was quickly beaten by the Greens, torn into pieces. Lucy couldn't believe this was happening. She had seen so many zombie movies where characters were overwhelmed by zombies, ripped to shreds, and devoured. She always thought those scenes were cool, but now she never wished to be seen in those movies at all, because she knew what to expect of how painful it would look to be. I'm sorry! I'm sorry! I'm sorry! Lana cried out as she held Lola. Lucy wrapped her arms around them, as tight as she could. She took one last look up at the sun, bathed in its warmth as a large cloud moved in front of it. She then closed her eyes and buried her face against her sister's head. "Please don't let it hurt," she prayed, as she felt the cold, dead hands of a Green clasp onto her pride from her sister. She screamed, too afraid to open her eyes as she was being lifted, then heard her younger sister scream, and she was surrounded by darkness. Rocky just stood there as a crowd of Greens completely swamped the kids. He was too afraid to even move. "What the hell are you doing?" he said, a cry out, and then looked to see Trini ran up to them. "Get out of there! He stammered. "I said get!" Trini then screamed again and then clutched the bow knife. And of course, "I have to save the children." "You're too late," Rocky cried. "I have to try." Trini slammed into the large mass of Greens, slashing a knife like a madwoman. It was hopeless since there were so many adults. Still, Trini wasn't going to give up. She didn't care who lived and who died. Her one job was protecting the kids until she failed. She made a mistake of stabbing an adult male in the chest, which caused the knife to get stuck. She tried desperately to pull it free, but another adult bit into her arm, to which it caused her to let go of the knife. She ripped her away and stumbled backwards, and then she began to fight the adults with her fists. She risked taking another look back at Rocky, who was even too scared to move. "I said run!" she screamed, and then looked back at the kids. The man she stabbed in the chest removed the knife, shoved the blade right into Trini's stomach. She howled in pain and fell to her knees, clutching the stab wound. The adults had brought the knife down on her back, and she felt her life slowly fade out of her, only to be replaced by darkness. The adults made a move towards Rocky, who ended up fainting before they got to him. "No!" Lynn cried as she saw the immense size of the crowd of grown-ups. "We're too late!" Luann cried. "Shut up!" Lynn snapped. She made her way towards the adults. The grown-ups were beginning to retreat. "Lynn, wait!" Luna cried, but Lynn ignored her and walked on the Greens that were too slow to get away from the large group approaching the kids. She led all the loose kids up to their knees as she tore through the Greens with mace. Soon as the other kids reached the adults, and tore them as well. Lynn fought through her as her muscles ached and screamed for her to stop, but she ignored them. Soon, Luna was with her, and she looked down at as many Greens as well, but at the end there were too many. There was nothing she could do. They failed their younger sisters again. The adults quickly dispersed, leaving trails of blood, guts, shredded articles of clothing, and other unidentifiable body parts everywhere. The Loud siblings weren't sure which pile of gore belonged to their sisters, but they didn't want to know. "Damn it!" Lynn screamed as she pounded her fists against the asphalt. Luna, Luann, and Lincoln ran up to her. They all held each other as they cried. How many more times would they have to go through this? Beside them, other kids began to cry. A lot of other kids had siblings who were now gone, including Stan. Stan collapsed to his knees, and then he threw his head back and wailed. Rusty also began to cry for his brother as well. A few feet away from Duke and Joey were looking around the crying kids. Joey then turned to Duke. "Well, this sucks." Shade Walker strolled down the street of Royal Woods, not a care in the world that he was alone. He didn't mind it at all. He liked being alone. If you were alone, then you didn't have to worry about anyone else. It was just him and this roll of marijuana. He then took a puff, savored every moment before exhaling. Good shit, he thought. He whistled as he walked. He loved to walk. If he wasn't at home playing video games or smoking that good shit or sleeping, he was walking. He thought it was funny that he enjoyed walking so much, His last name was Walker after all. Walker, Texas Ranger, he thought to himself, which made him chuckle. He then looked up towards the cloudy sky, seeing shapes of images in the clouds. He searched strenuously, hoping to see the cloud that looked pathetic. Although if he did, he'd probably just end up laughing out loud and ended up rolling on the ground laughing, which was probably the best thing he ever did. He needed to stay quiet. One loud sound of those crazies would be onto him like a moth's to a flame. Only the moths can eat the flame. What do mothballs eat? He wondered. Mothballs. What he thought about it made him burst out laughing. Damn, don't laugh. Focus, laser beam, focus. Quad laser beam, focus. He almost laughed again. Calm down, man. Trying to carry on. Calm as a cucumber. Larry the cucumber, Bob the tomato, VeggieTales. Wait, tomatoes are fruit. What's a fruit doing on VeggieTales? Shade then wanted to slap himself, but now was not the time for questions. He could see a school come to view. Royal Woods High School. High school? The school is high. Shade slapped himself. Hey, who did that? He looked at his head and saw his hand. Oh. He walked closer to the school and could see the other adults wandering around the football field. He didn't notice all kinds of things were set up around the field. Cars, gas tanks, firewood, propane tanks. What do they plan on doing with those propane tanks? Are they planning on having a cookout? If that's the case, don't they need a grill or something? Propane, Shade thought to himself. I sell propane and propane accessories. Shade was really laughing not to laugh now. That's when he noticed a large group of adults marching his way. Uh-oh, Kong Chongo, he said, and then he hurried to his house to hide. He made his way to the second floor, and then looked out of the window to spy on the adults. He saw that the head of the group was a tall, muscular, t-shirtless adult, carrying a brick, and walking beside him was a tall, greasy-haired-looking adult, wearing a mechanic uniform. He watched as they made their way towards a big, fat adult, who was sitting on a large seat, watching over everyone. As soon as the adults reached him, he could see them passing through something among the crowd. It looked like a sack. The sack then reached Brick and opened it, and then a few other adults took out some of the kids. They were all alive. One of them was a pale girl with dark hair and dark clothing. Another was a blonde girl wearing overalls and had her hair in two pigtails, and another one was a blonde who looked similar to the other blonde and was dressed in pink. They all looked out for 3 more kids. One kid was orange hair, another one was a small brunette. With the last one, they looked like another girl with dark hair. The fat dude nodded, and the few adults hurried over towards the kids and then shoved them out in the vehicle. I'm keeping them prisoner, Shade thought, as he noticed more kids were trapped inside the other cars as well. They must hold those flammable objects. They're going to have a cookout. Shade wished that he had a sniper rifle so he could shoot the propane tank and turn that field into Hiroshima. But unfortunately, there was nothing he could do for those kids. He waited till the coast was clear and left the house, continuing his way down Royal Woods, trying his best to get the bizarre and terrifying sight out of those adults, working to get rid of those poor hopeless kids out of his mind. There's nothing you can do for them. Just keep walking, man. Eyes forward, standing straight, one foot in front of the other. Chris and his group went to work in Hazel, Kentucky High School. Of course, there wasn't really that many kids in the elementary school either. Damn, Chris swore. I guess those kids weren't as prepared as the other school. Crony nodded. But on the bright side, we did manage to find even more adults for your army. Chris nodded and looked at the adults that had joined him. There were over 1,000 of them. He was pleased, but at the same time, he just meant more mouths to feed. Oh well, they soon head off to Huntington Oaks. It was a town full of wealthy people that lived, and they were bound to see some kids there. Chris told everyone to get a move on, and they continued down the road, leaving the path of destruction in their wake.